Howdy y'all. A lot of y'all have asked about fuel systems. So I realized it was kind of spread out over several videos. So we're going to cover some basics in this one. So thank you all for the questions and hopefully we get them answered. Stay tuned. You're watching Seattle Speed Shop. Welcome. I am your host Matt. This is Seattle Speed Shop, and today we're talking about carburation. So some of the questions I've gotten have been really good, and I just wanted to kind of compile everything I've talked about in one video so that it's easier to find if you're looking for something specific. So one of the questions I got was running a stock carburetor on a high compression head. And I actually broke in the 7-to-1 Super Winfield motor in my truck on it's actually probably this one right here. Worked fine. I drove it up and down the road. It definitely felt really strangled fuel wise, but the plugs looked good. So say yes, it works. Not really gonna see as much benefit running one of those because these engines really, they do respond well to fueling. So on that truck, I'm running a 7-to-1 compression head, a single downdraft intake with a Stromberg 97. I would say it's still undercarbed. It does not have a fuel pump, which it could definitely use. I try not to get on it unless it's got a full tank in it. With a full tank, it runs fine. Even with a pretty low tank, as long as you're easy on it, it'll run fine and pull a hill, kind of whatever. That car could definitely use a dual carb setup. And I think we're going to be going to that in the future, along with a fuel pump, kind of a future mod. I just wanted to see what a downdraft was like without a fuel pump, as I'd never run one without a fuel pump before. I would say a single 97 would be great on like a 6-to-1 head or down. Probably great for a police head. If you were, say, running like just like a stock head, or maybe you shaved a head, or even just a B head, I would say a Stromberg 81 on a single intake would be a good combination for you. Stromberg 81 is the smallest CFM sizes of all the Stromberg carburetors, and they're actually really common to see used on a banger engine. Now, in all but the most built high compression big cam 4-bangers, I would say you're going to want 281s if you're going to run duals. You can probably get away with this on a 6-to-1 head, definitely a 7-to-1 head. This is actually what we're going to be running on the pickup in the future. I would say 100% just run a fuel pump. It's better all around. I definitely experienced fuel starvation issues when the tank is low. I actually had a few people ask about running an updraft or a dual updraft, I should say, or a single downdraft. My experience with the dual updraft has been, it's very cool, it makes good peak power. It's a little bit more touchy of a carburetor setup. Requires a little bit more fiddling and tuning depending on weather. If you just want something that you can get in and go, set it in and forget it, go with a more modern carburetor. I thought about talking about Holley 94s. I don't have any experience running one of those. We're going to try that in the future. Stromberg versus 94, just to see if we can notice any difference. So I don't have any data for you on that, so I hesitate to comment on it. And we also, as you know, I love Winfield stuff. We will do a whole episode on Winfield carburetors if you'd like to see that. So comment down below if you would. As far as fuel pumps go, let's talk about that. All right, let's talk about fuel pumps real quick. If you're lucky enough to have a B motor, You have a fuel pump boss. I see a lot of them run without fuel pumps on them. I wonder if it's because these are really expensive, or if there's something I don't know about running them. But on paper, these are the perfect PSI for a set of Strombergs. So if you know, let me know why people aren't running them. If you got a Model A, you definitely can run your tank gravity feed. I'm doing it. It's not the best. It starts to starve out, especially when the tank gets lower. I don't even like really get on it super hard unless it's got a full tank in it. I'm going to be going to a fuel pump on that truck because I basically just wanted to experiment and see how it did without it. It's definitely doable. It's definitely drivable. I haven't reached a situation where I was having big issues, but definitely have to be cognizant of what kind of grade you're pulling and your fuel level. I actually really like these. This is called an Auto Pulse 500. This is a vintage electric pump. If being super traditional is something that is a big concern to you, this is a great option. It's self-regulating, PSI is adjustable. Just a great all-around option if you can find one. You can actually have these rebuilt, bellows in them is copper, a very robust pump. And there's a lot of evidence of these being run in old pictures. If you're just gonna go with a new pump, probably want to buy a new pump that is capable of using modern fuels. A lot of the older aftermarket rubber bellows units, new old stock ones, are not capable of being run on modern fuels, and they will deteriorate. And then while it was a new pump, it's now no longer working. So go ahead and just do yourself a favor, go buy a new pump that is compatible with ethanol fuels. On a Model A, I like to run that pump down underneath the floorboard, kind of on the toe board. It's easy to run the line coming down from the fuel tank and then run it back up to the carburetor. Very simple, easy to get power there, and it remains somewhat hidden. I think the biggest thing to remember with a modern pump is you're going to need a regulator, because Strombergs are very sensitive to fuel pressure. You don't want more than 3 psi. Well, I at least hope this covers some of your questions. I want to thank you all for watching, and we'll see you next time. Hope you had a good weekend.